You will still have access to the slideshow after the class, so you can refer back to it anytime. Okay. I don't know if I'll be able to see the chat while I have the screen sharing, but let's find out. Oh, technology. Here we go. Okay. Everybody see the screen? Hopefully. Perfect. Yep. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay. Okay, so this is just an overview of what we're going to be covering. Just so you can kind of follow along, we're going to be talking about how to use your phone's camera, the basic editing tools that I use on my phone, some lighting basics. We're going to talk about the direction of light, the quality of it, and how to control it. And then we'll be doing some branding basics as well. So I'll kind of walk through how to help identify your brand if you don't already have it identified, and then how to use photography to strengthen and define it. So first thing is how to use your phone's camera. So everybody grab your phone. There's a little quote here. The important thing is not the camera, but the eye, because we're just going to be using our phones. So we don't have fancy technology, but we don't need it. Okay, so the first thing is just how to access your camera quickly. Some people know this. I feel like some people, it's new information, so I just want to go over it. When your phone is off or asleep or whatever, you can, to wake it up, you can swipe left on your screen. So if you see at the bottom of this like screen grab of my phone here, there's a little camera on the bottom right. That's essentially telling you that if you swipe to the left, so I'm gonna come back to my face here. So as you're looking at your phone, if you swipe this way, it will access your camera. So if you just need to take a photo really quickly, that has been really helpful for me. You can also, can everybody see my phone? Okay. Okay. Also, you can swipe up, and then there's a little camera icon here. Just quick access. I find it really handy. So there you go. Let's go back to our slideshow here. Okay, burst mode. For anyone that has a product or maybe a model moving or something and you want to capture a bunch of photos all at once, this has been really helpful for me. So if you hold down the shutter or just like the photo button for half a second or longer, it will shoot a series of photos, and then you can pick later, because what can happen is, so my friend here is playing the violin, and if he's moving really quickly, some of that could be blurred. It's called motion blur, and it depends on how fast your phone decides its shutter speed is. This is getting very technical, I know. But there will be some photos where he's not blurry from the motion blur, and you can choose that one. So that's just really helpful if you're photographing anything that's moving quickly. Okay, so we are going to talk about how to take control of the exposure on your phone. So what exposure is essentially how bright or dark your photo is. And that can also mean if you have a photo where, or a situation where like I am close to a window, so I am brighter than my background. But if we wanted the background to be brighter back here, we can control that on our phones. We don't have to just let our phones do the thinking for us. So if everybody could like pick up your phone and point it at something, it'll be helpful for you to follow along. And I'll go back to our screen here. Okay, so in this little screen grab I have here, I have this situation pulled up, and I want to take a picture of whatever, my bookshelf. And if you look in the bottom right, I have tapped on these glasses here. You see the little yellow outline on the glasses? What that does is whatever you tap on, that is going to, it's going to focus on that. So that will be the thing that is sharp in your image. And if there's a lot of depth to your background, like there's a bunch of things behind that, it's important to pick the thing you actually want to be in focus and click right on it. But in this photo, like maybe this is too bright, maybe this is too dark, we can control that. So if I click on the picture frames, it changes the exposure because that was in a brighter part of the frame, and now it's darker because I've clicked on these photos. And what essentially the math that your phone is trying to do is it's trying to average out everything in the photo to be 50% gray, which is this little box inside here. That's 50% gray. And that's every camera trying to just average it out to like something that's printable with all the information in the scene. Obviously, some things are brighter than 50% gray or darker. So if you find that you're focused on a subject, but you want to make your image brighter or darker, you can manually change that exposure. So if we click on frame up your shot, click on the thing that you want in focus, and you'll see that little square pop up again. And then you also see the sun that pops up right next to it. That's your exposure slider. So if you slide that little exposure slider up or down, if you go up, the photo will get brighter. If you go down, it'll get darker. So I'm gonna let you guys take a minute, try that, give me some thumbs up if it works. Awesome. Okay, so you might have noticed while you were trying to change the exposure that sometimes the little yellow box would move. What you can do to keep that from happening is you can lock the focus on the thing you're clicking on. So if you, instead of just tapping the subject, hold down on the screen for a couple seconds, and then the square will kind of blink, and then you'll see AE/AF lock, and that means the focus is locked on that thing. So even if you move your camera around, the focus will remain that distance from your phone no matter where you point it. So then you can start changing the exposure, and it's much easier. But always make sure the thing you're shooting is the thing you click on and focus on. Oh, this other little handy thing. I don't know, this might be very obvious, but instead of clicking the shutter on the front of the camera, you can also take pictures by clicking the volume button on the side of your phone. That can just be handy. Okay. Oh, I have an echo, and I'm not sure why. Okay, does anybody have any questions about all of that? Oh, I see. How do you turn the autofocus lock off? You just tap somewhere else in your screen, and it will reset the whole situation. Welcome. Any other questions? Hi, Cole. Okay, Margie, you say you don't see the sun next to your, oh, really? Okay, where are you, Margie? Margie, will you turn your video on and show me your phone? Let me see if I can help you here real quick. Oh, so you have to have the camera open. Okay, then click on a part of the screen, like click and hold somewhere that you want to take a picture of. So so if we're looking here and I want to take a picture of this photo, I would click and hold. Click, wait, sorry, I can't see. Click and hold. Yeah. And now now that's in focus, and then there's a little sun there that I can tweak. Okay. Oh my gosh, you're taking dance photos, Adi? The class is one day too late, darn it. Well, now you'll know for next time.
Heather, Margie, what am I supposed to do after I click on that and the sun shows?
So once you click on something, that it's going to focus on that thing, so that thing will be sharp in your picture. But then the sun, if you slide the sun up, the photo will get brighter, and if you slide the sun down, the photo will get darker. So you can control how bright or dark your photo is manually, because sometimes your phone's dumb.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. I am not sure if this is different for Android. I can definitely look that up for my Android people. If you want to hang out at the end of the class, I can definitely Google it and make sure that all of these things still apply. I'm a very Mac loyal person. Android should be the same. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate that. Okay. Does everybody feel good about moving on?
Yep.
Okay, great. Let me get back to my screen sharing. Okay, so next we're just going to talk about editing your photos. I love this quote from Ansel Adams. He's a famous landscape photographer. You don't take a photograph, you make it. So taking the photo is the first part, but then editing is a very important second. So this is just one of my favorite apps that I use to edit. It has different filters. You can adjust the exposure, white balance, straighten, crop, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys, and actually, really quickly, I believe this one is free, a color story. If you guys can or want to, if you want to download a color story, we can go ahead and do a little hands-on editing of a photo later. So we can talk about what white balance is, what filters are, all that kind of stuff. And I can show you how to control those things as well. Let me see, can I go back here? No, I want to go back. Nope, nope. I don't know how to run, how to run this. Okay, but ViscoCam and a color story are just really great editing tools. So whenever, I just want to kind of walk you through my workflow. So after I take a photo, oh great, I see that a couple people already have these apps. Great. So after I take a photo, I will always go into my photo stream. And from there, I click the heart on the photos that I like, and then go to my favorites, and I have a narrowed down view of all the photos that I've taken. And I try to essentially cull from there. Culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G, is just a fancy word for narrowing down your photos. So I cull there, and then I'll pull things into, like Visco is really great because they have a grid and you can see all of the photos at once that you've imported. And it's really great because once you have a filter or some edits that you really like, you can copy them and paste them onto the rest of the photos. So that makes consistency in your photography very, very easy, and it streamlines the whole process. So I highly recommend looking into Visco. And then a color story is great because it has a few more fine adjustment points for tone curves and contrast, which we can talk about later. So yeah, if you guys want to just take a second, go to your app store, download Visco or a color story, whichever one you want to, and then we'll go through that after we take a few photos together. Oh, cool. Yeah, the copying and pasting. It's amazing. It's my favorite thing. So just as you guys are downloading, here's just an example. This is the Visco app. And so you can see it's a grid of all of your photos. But if I take a photo, if I click here, and then click the dots down here, I can copy the edits, and then I'll click another photo and paste it right on there, and everything will look exactly the same. It's amazing. Okay, was that enough time for everybody to download? I'll wait just a little bit longer. Does anyone not know how to favorite or heart a photo and then access your favorites in the photo stream? Does anyone need help with that? Okay. Okay, so for those of you that need help, when you So you'll open your Photos app right here. And then from there, you're going to go to, there's a Recents here, and then I have a Favorites tab right here. So if you go onto your Recents, you're able to see all these photos. Let's click on this cute picture of my cat. She's adorable. And if you see the heart at the bottom, you click that, and that will add it to your Favorites category. And then if you go back to all of your albums, there it is in your Favorites, and you can narrow things down that way. Okay. Okay, everybody got those downloaded? Excellent. Okay, so we're gonna move on to a little more hands-on situation here. We go back to our screen sharing. We're gonna talk about the direction of light. So since we're working with natural light, all we have to work with are, windows, the sun, lamps, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to talk about the direction of those things first. So there are three basic directions of light. There's front light, and that's when the light is hitting the front of the subject. So if the subject is facing a window or looking towards the sun, and the subject can be a human face, it can be a hat, it can be your bar of soap, whatever you have. If that thing is facing towards the light, that's front light. Side light is when the light is hitting the side of the object. Pretty straightforward. So if the subject is sitting parallel to the window right next to it, that's side light. And then backlight is obviously when the light is hitting the back of the subject. So if the subject is standing in front of the window and you are shooting towards the window, so the window's in the background, that's backlight. So front light, I am facing the sun is hitting my face right there, that's front light. Side light, you can see the windows off to the right side of the frame. So from the side, side light. It starts to become pretty self-explanatory. And then backlight, obviously the sun is behind me, so I'm being lit from the back. Also, if you guys notice these little streaks of light, that's called sun flare. Just a good photography term to know. So if that's something that in your brand you would like to use because it's very dreamy or ethereal, sun flare or just light flare is a word you'll need to know. Okay, so we're gonna try this out. You're gonna take your phone, take either your product or your face or whatever you wanna photograph and go try to light yourself in these three different ways: front light, side light, backlight. And then if you would like to share them, I don't know if you can share them in the chat or if you just want to hold the phone up to the camera so we can see all of your examples. And we'll give you a few minutes to do that. I'm also going to go photograph myself in the same way so we can edit those photos in a second. So I'll be right back. If anybody needs help finding these examples, or if you need help figuring out what that means for products that are like sitting on a table or something, please let me know. Does anyone have any questions in the meantime while we wait for everyone to finish?
I have a question, Heather, Margie here. I
Yeah.
always have bad Zoom because my thing is behind me. Where do I need to sit so that I have good lighting on my face when I'm doing Zoom?
Oh,
See
when
how
you're doing
dark-
Zoom?
Yeah, see how dark I am?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because your computer camera is trying to take your scene and make it 50% gray, like all cameras try to do. So because it's so bright around you, it's darkening your face because your face is darker. So I would actually face a window. So right now there's a window directly in front of me. So if you're like at your dining table and it's right next to this window, I would just go to the other side of the table and use the window to light your face.
Okay.
And then you'll be much brighter. And then the dark ground, the background will be dark, but your face will be lit.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next time.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I think we probably have most people back. I do want to mention that when you are photographing yourself or products, there are different colors of light. So indoor lighting can be very warm, and if it blends with outdoor lighting, which is very blue, it can look not polished. You generally want to have one color of light hitting your product. So if you are photographing things inside, go ahead and shut off the overhead lights. If you're using the window to light things, it'll just make it a lot cleaner. You also want to avoid, for some reason, architects have decided the can lights are the ultimate good, and I hate them because they're just small lights right above your head, and it will give you what's known as raccoon eyes, which just means that, so because the light's right above you, your eye sockets will become very dark, and it's not very flattering. So again, just make sure you shut off your overhead lights if you're using a window, or if you're right under a can light, move to the side, get out from under there. If you're doing photos outside in the middle of the day, the sun is going to be directly overhead, so it's going to be the same problem. So it's a little advanced, but in general, you want a light source to be roughly from here to here as an angle to the human face. That's what we're used to seeing. That's normally what a window is. If it's directly overhead or if it's directly underneath, it's not going to look as cute. Okay. Everybody feel good with the direction of light? Okay, so we're going to move on to the quality of light. There we go. Okay, so we're going to cover two basics. It's hard light and soft light. Hard light is defined by the transition from shadow to highlight being very abrupt. So if you look at the shadows that these earrings have on the backdrop, you can tell they're very crisp lines. That's because the light source is very small relative to the product. Now the light source is the sun. We know the sun is very big, but in relationship to how far it is away from us, if you were to hold out your hand and like your fingers and try to pinch the sun, you know, it's kind of small actually. So it would create these hard shadows. Soft light is when the transition from shadow to highlight is gradual, and it's caused by a large light source. So if you have a huge bay window in your house, that light source, it's the whole window. And so it's going to wrap around the subject more, and the transition from shadow to highlight will be more gradual. Now, the reason this is important is because it depends on your brand, essentially, as we're like moving all of this towards your product photography or branding photography. These have two very different feels to them. Hard light is punchy, it's more editorial, it's a little more maybe modern. Soft light can be very ethereal, it can be very lifestyle. So it really depends on your brand. And we're going to talk about your specific brand and what kind of lighting is best for that, because you can tell a lot to your viewers through the type of lighting and the direction of lighting that you're using as to who you are, who your product is for, and what you should feel when you're looking at this product and using it or wearing it. I'm just gonna look at the questions here real quick. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed, someone asked about megapixels. I don't know, it depends on your phone, I think. I'm not super into all the technical stuff, so I think you'll have to Google that one, I'm sorry. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our slide here. Talk about how to find and create these different light qualities. So like we talked about, for hard light, direct sunlight, that's hard light, especially earlier in the day. As it gets towards sunset, the atmosphere actually diffuses the light and it becomes softer. But if you're looking directly at the sun or your product is directly facing the sun, it's probably going to be hard light. A flashlight is a very small light source. So if you don't want to work with the sun, if you want to have more of a spotlight situation on your product, you can use a flashlight and it will create those defined shadows. And then also if you have direct sunlight coming through your window, it's still direct sunlight, it's still going to be hard. It can also create really cool shafts of light, which is something cool to play with if you want. Soft light, if you have a lamp that has a large like white shade on it, the light that comes out from the side of that can be quite soft, especially if your product is small in comparison to the lamp shade. So if you had a ring or a bracelet or something and you have a large lamp with a large shade, that light source in relationship to the product is very large, so the light will be softer. If you find shade outside, if you just go out onto a porch, if you're in the shadow on the porch, that is all, it's called covered shade, and it's dreamy lighting. It will be very soft shadows. It's really great. Also, if you have a window and there's sunlight coming through, but you draw some white shades or something, that can create a very large, very soft light source. So these are just ways that you guys can control the natural light in your home to create what you want to create. Okay, does anyone have questions on how to find and use natural light around their homes? Nope. Everybody, we're all feeling great about lighting. Usually if you find a window, you're going to be great. Okay, so we're going to move on to branding. So let me get back to our screen here. So like I've been saying, you can communicate a lot through your imagery to your potential clients. It is, like this quote says, it's the silent ambassador of your brand. So instead of you having to explain every time, this is who my brand is, this is who it's for, this is what my vibe is, showing people is always more powerful. And especially when we are living on Instagram and social media, powerful imagery will tell a story very quickly and will grab the client that you want. It'll grab their attention quicker. So again, branding is how you promote your product or business through intentional design and advertising. So all the images you see here were shot on a real camera, not an iPhone. I apologize, but they're all for one brand. And you start to get a feeling for what this brand is. It's colorful, it's fun, it's creative. There are lots of things that you can take from it. It's bright and it's happy, but it's cool. It's a very different vibe from another brand that would maybe be for more edgy people or for more like traditional or classic people. So this is how you tell your story quickly and easily to your potential customers. So what I want to do right now is we're going to define your brand. You're going to choose 3 words to describe your overall brand. For fashion designers, I want you to think about more than just what you made for last season, like what the story is for last season's collection. What is an overarching story of your entire brand? What's your aesthetic? What's your mission? For example, I just put my personal brand words, the brand for my fashion photography, the words for that. And then for our commercial photography, Hooton images. And they all have distinct words. They're all distinct branding. They all tell different stories, and they're for different people. So I want us to take a second to think about that. If you're having some trouble figuring that out, I would suggest gathering some inspiration by making a mood board. So take your favorite photos, take your favorite products, the things that feel the most you, like when you created it, you were like, yeah, this feels like right. And then go maybe on Pinterest or something, or get some magazines and pull aspirational photos of, I wish it could look like this. This is what I aspire to. Put them all together and try to describe that in 3 words. So we're gonna take a second and do that. And as you come up with your words, if you want to drop them in the chat, so we can talk about specifically how to use photography to help do that, to create that brand. Good words, Patty. I like that. Patty, she designs yoga, leisure wear. She said comfortable, luxurious, easy. Perfect. Denise, classic, elegant, and bold. I like that. And if you don't have all 3 of your words, but you are identifying with some of the words that other people are putting in the chat, you can just use, I'll talk through a few of these and I can kind of guide you. You can use the tips that I give them in your brand as well. So don't feel like you're behind if you can't think of your 3 words right now. Beautiful. Yep, love that. Okay, so for some of the people that are dropping their words in the chat, I actually would like to ask some of you if you want to unmute yourselves and kind of talk about, like, based on the words, give your words to everybody, and then go ahead and let me know, like, what lighting or what direction of light or like what things already you're thinking like, oh, that would help tell my brand a little bit better. If you guys want to. Cole, do you want to go? You're an active listener, so I'm like, yeah, Cole can do it.
I went with, like, I put down like ethereal, fashionable, and creative for my words. And so for lighting, I think I'd definitely probably go more towards like the softer lighting to kind of keep like, just like you said, because that soft lighting does look very dreamy and like heavenly like, and like that's kind of like what I like to see in imagery and in my own images that I create. So I think that's definitely something, the direction that I'm gonna go.
Yeah, so yeah, the backlight would be really wonderful for you. Anytime,
Yep.
yeah, shooting in covered shade.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Amazing.
Ooh,
Hello, this is
Oh,
Patty.
yeah.
I don't have
Hi.
my video on because I look really
That's okay.
today. Yeah, you know, you're familiar with the Patty pants and stuff, and so they're real flowy. You know, and some are really luxurious fabrics, and some are really just comfortable cottony fabrics. So I really like the side lighting for some. And when I really want to get dramatic, I like the front lighting, you know, because it's a lot of the colors I use are really bright. So I like to have that light just really shining on it. But I like the side and the front lighting. I use those the most, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point. When you're doing front lighting, your camera is better able to capture color. When you go into backlighting, it becomes a little more fuzzy, desaturated, especially with the flare. So if you think that maybe like bold or colorful are one of your words, you'd want to really embrace front light. And side light is actually really great for showing texture. If you have a piece that has maybe lots of fur or some sort of texture, I feel like for the soap maker, if you have like little flecks of lavender or something in your soap and you want to show that texture, side light is going to do that really well. Side light can also be very dramatic, so it really depends on if you're a side light and you're turned fully to the side, like sorry to draw attention to you, but your window is like right to the side of you, and so part of your face is in shadow, and it is dramatic and beautiful. So it's called split lighting, when half the face is in shadow, and it can be very editorial and really grab people's attention that way too. So that's a cool way to play with side light. Adi, will you turn your chin towards the window a little bit? That's a way of doing side light, but still having pretty light on a person's face. Just turn their face towards the light a little bit. Perfect, thank you. Denise, Buff, do you guys have ideas of what kind of lighting would best work for your brand and what your words are?
Lighting is something that has always been like, I don't understand it. So this is helping a lot. Even though I worked with my brother who's a photographer for years, I'm like, you do that, I don't understand lighting at all. But I guess the side lighting is intriguing me more than, I don't think I'm a moody, ethereal black lighting person, because my clothing is more bold, more classic than that. So I think a side lighting would probably be better for what I do. Something about.
Yeah, especially because you have that classic, and there is an element of the classic mystique when there's a little bit of shadow there, but there's still enough light on the front of the product to show all the colors and keep it bold.
What do you think, Buff?
I think I would probably end up using something like a hard lighting that plays on a lot of the textures, because I like to do a lot of textural things, and showing like my designs are meant to build confidence and things like that, and so I would use something that would definitely like show off all of like the curves of a woman's figure or something like that. So I would want to make sure I had really good shadows included in all of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, awesome.
Maybe a higher angle, but hard lighting.
Yeah, I love that. Michaela, you put hard light specifically in your branding. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I'm putting you on the spot.
I put hard lighting just because, you know, designing for more versatile pieces, more like that powerful woman is kind of what I'm going for. And I just think that gets like those lines, you see the lines more prominently instead of the soft lighting. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, either front on or side lighting.
Nice. Yay, I love it. This is so exciting. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our slideshow here. I feel like hopefully everybody has kind of a good idea of what your words are and then what lighting can go with that and how it will help inform each other. So we'll go back over here, see what else I got. All right, just did that. Okay, oh, we're just at the Q&A. So we're just gonna break it down to any other questions people have, but also I want to, if you guys would like to edit some photos on Visco or Color Story, we can do that. I would love to see the examples everybody has of their different lighting. So you guys just kind of let me know where you would like to go from here. It's kind of a free-for-all.
I think, Heather, it would be good to just kind of go over that Color Story a little bit. So
sure,
that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Did most people download a Color Story? By a show of thumbs? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so Color Story, here we go. So you're just gonna click the new button here. Sorry, I'm trying to get the glare off my phone. Hit new. And then up here, you have different folders. Oh my goodness, oh no, I touched things I wasn't supposed to. So up here you have different folders. This one's currently on my favorites, but if you click at the top left here, we'll go back, we'll go to recents, and then you can see my 3 examples of front light, side light, and backlight right there. So let's pull up Perfect. Let's pull up our front light first. You just click on it. It'll pull it up. It'll try to sell you some stuff, but you don't have to. Get out of here. Okay. Here's my front light photo. Here we go. So if we go to filters first, what a filter is essentially a photographer or creative has played with different color balances, like added reds to highlights or blues to shadows or whatever, and adjusted different things like contrast, contrast is essentially how, like, the relationship between the blacks and whites of the scene. So if you have high contrast, these are blacks and whites, the blacks are going to dip down, the whites are going to dip up. That's high contrast. Low contrast means that those are going to come more to the middle and be closer to 50% gray. So again, sorry to point out, Audie, kind of a high contrast situation because it's very bright on one side, very dark on the other side. So that's just what contrast is. So a filter just takes all of these different things and applies it to a photo for you. So as we're going through, we can look at the basics. They have them all labeled here, and you can just click through and see what it does, but you can also change how strong that filter is, essentially. But if we just click through and we can find one that we think looks cute, and you can see as you guys click through your own photos how the color is changing, how that affects the skin tone, how that affects the colors of the garment or the product. So you can go through there, and everybody go ahead and find a filter that you like on your front light photo. Just click through, play with how much of the filter is applied. There's a little slider down here. If you slide that down, it will apply the filter less. It lowers the opacity of the filter. So just go ahead and find one that you like. Let me know if anyone has trouble doing that.
You have to pay for analog.
Yeah, they'll definitely upsell you at some point. And I feel like, yeah, if you're doing this often, if you find, you're going to spend $3 on a group of filters, but you're going to use it 1,000,000 times for all of your products, that's a really cheap investment for branding and photography. Okay, so let me know. I'm just going to assume we all have a filter that we like. I think we all are pretty familiar with that. So once you're done with your filter, you're going to go back, and then you can go to the adjust here, and that's where you can do more fine tuning on your photo. So the one thing that I really like on this app is the curves. And what curves does is this line here is essentially a visual representation of your shadow areas down here, and your highlight area is up here. And if you click on it, it'll add another little point, and then you can drag that point down, make it more contrasty. You can click up here, add a highlight point, and you can really, it can get nuts, but it's a way to really control, maybe there's just this one area of shadow that I really want to boost, but I don't want to boost all of the blacks or, things like that. So you can take a lot of control of editing your images with curves. I highly recommend. Clarity is something that I don't super recommend everybody use it, but clarity right here, it's essentially going to sharpen your photo, but it can start to look really rough, especially if you're photographing people. The skin texture can get really unflattering. So I would recommend if you're shooting a product on its own, like the soap or something, it's good to pull out that kind of texture, but just be a little careful with it. There's a contrast slider. You can pull that over, make it more contrasty, pull it back, make it less contrasty. And that's a good one to play with just to understand what contrast means and get a better grasp of what that is controlling. And then, okay, so I have a question on where the clarity is. Okay, so when we were back in the main area, there were our filters, and then there are effects, which add grain and stuff, which you can play with later, and then adjust. Click on adjust, and then this is where all the controls are that we're talking about. So Patty, the curves is right here. Clarity is further down. You can just scroll through. Okay. The other thing I really want to talk about is the temperature. So if you keep scrolling along here, you'll find this little temperature dude. Like we talked about, outdoor light can be very blue. Indoor incandescent light can be very warm. And sometimes your phone is just dumb and you have one color situation, but it just decides that it's going to make it really blue or really orange for some reason, because phones are dumb. So if you click on that temperature there, you can warm it up or cool it down. And you can also use this just aesthetically, like Cole, if you want it to look really ethereal, go warmer. You know, if you want something to feel really moody and like editorial, you'll go cooler, and just play with that. But the other part of the color temperature of an image is the tint. So tint is kind of hard to see at first, but it's essentially, it's going to add green or purple to your scene, the same way that temperature is going to add orange or blue. So if someone is looking just kind of sickly green, you can add more purple to it, or vice versa. You can just play with that and just know, like, if the color doesn't feel right on your photo, maybe play with the tint. That's a big part of it too, because light comes in a million colors and we have to try to compensate for it.
Heather, if you get
Cole says
if you get a setting that you like, can you lock that in somehow, or so that you can use it again? Or do you have to do it every time you have a different image?
Yes. So what you can do, I'm pretty sure, when we're here, you see this little button here at the top of the menu. If you click that, you can save a custom preset, and then you'll be able to apply that with Color Story. With VSCO, you can apply it to multiple pictures all at once, so that's still possibly more time effective, but opening a photo and pasting that preset on is still gonna save you tons of time. So yeah, again, for people that didn't see, at the bottom here on the right, there's this little button. Click that, and then you can save the preset. Now, I will be honest, I use usually 2, if not 3 apps every time I edit a photo, because I'm a crazy person. You don't have to be that extreme, but yeah, Cole feels me. But one thing, if you're gonna be photographing people, or if you're gonna be taking a lot of selfies, I will also tell you that Facetune is really great. Love it. You can use it too heavily, very easily, but if anybody is interested in learning how to use Facetune, I can stay on after the class and show you. But essentially has the ability to smooth skin, do a little bit of liquefying, just more advanced like portrait retouching things that are very handy. I love them.
So if you wanted to photograph say I wanted to photograph a garment on a dress form that I just want to have as, you know, just items on my website rather than taking a photograph of it on a model.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk us through that a little bit, how you would do that? Would it be best to do it in front of a white screen, or?
Yeah, so it really depends on, it kind of depends on your branding. But I would say like the most traditional thing would be to, get a white wall, or you can get smaller fabric backdrops. So backdrops usually come in, like the big ones are like 107 inches, but they have ones that are smaller that you can rig up, maybe just cut some off and tape it to your wall. And I would do that right next to a window. And depending on if you want to have hard light, then schedule your shooting time for when you have direct light coming in through that window. Or if you want to have soft light, make sure there are curtains, or you're just pushed back from the window a little bit. So if this is your window here and this is your mannequin, if you put it here and there's hard light, it's going to be hard side light. But if you put it back here, the light is going to come in and fill the room and then bounce back to your mannequin, and so it'll be soft light. So if you want to have a controlled situation inside, I would recommend by a window, back just a little bit, white seamless if you want, and then just photograph it that way. If you're someone who wants to do hard light, make it a little more editorial something, I would also recommend just taking the backdrop outside after maybe three or four, as the sun starts to set a little bit, the angle of light gets more pleasing, and shoot everything outside because it's definitely going to be bright enough. You can have that hard light if you want, and that'll make it look editorial and interesting. I know a lot of people do, like, you'll have the backdrop, but then you frame it a little bit wider so you can see behind it. So maybe you're in a field because your brand is very earthy and you want to have that earthy feel, or you're by like a cool modern building because you want to have that modernism to it, but still have it clean behind your mannequin or your model. The other thing I would suggest is just putting it on your porch, because that's the same thing. If you don't have a big enough window, the porch, like all of the world outside your porch is your window, and that'll give you really beautiful soft lighting for that. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, good. It's a very long answer. Any other questions?
Is there?
So I was looking through my Instagram to see, because I was like, I don't know what lighting to use for my branding, but turns out I use dramatic side lighting just like this. This is what I use. But it's sort of a mix. It's usually pretty hard, not completely hard lighting, but there are some softer ones. Is it okay should I pick one and stick with it, or is it okay to play in between?
You can definitely play in between. It's not a hard and fast rule. I think if you just, like, if you're aware of, like, if you're just using it intentionally, really that's what all art is. Like, I'm using this intentionally to say a specific thing.
Okay.
So, especially I feel like because you play with like the masculine and feminine a lot, there's some beauty in like having the juxtaposition. Like if you have soft lighting, but with a really masculine like model or style or whatever, and then vice versa, like that's still, I feel like that's still within your brand and still telling your story.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Beth.
Is there a strong difference between like the morning light versus the evening light, and what is better to use? Is there like, are there recognizable differences?
I mean, not really. I don't think so. I think that maybe sunset is maybe more glowy, but that might just be me making that up. I don't see sunrise light very often. So, but
that's just because creatives stay up late.
Yes, exactly. So the big thing to take away from sunrise and sunset is essentially that the angle of the sun is more pleasing, and because it's rising, it is going through more layers of atmosphere, so it's diffused, like the way when you put a sheer curtain in front of a window, you diffuse the light. The atmosphere is doing that to the sun rays the lower they get. So especially like as we talk about, so if this is the horizon, sun coming in that way, that's just like side light from a window or straight, like it's a good angle for your eyes and for just photographing the face in general. And then as it gets up to like right about here is probably like the end of the technically flattering light. So, and that's just, yeah, that's sunrise or sunset to, you know, a few hours before or after, you know, after sunrise, before sunset. And that's why everybody likes shooting then. The angle of light is pretty, the light's more diffused, and because it's diffused, it can have extra color and warmth to it. Golden hour.
Golden hours.
Heather, this is Margie. I asked this in a chat, but I thought I'd ask you real. Once I've saved a photo that I've done the filter thing, how do I make that show up as a favorite? I don't see any place to do a heart on that saved one.
So it won't be inside the app. Once you save that photo, let me go back here. Once you save that photo, you'll just go back to your Photos app right here. You see that app right there?
Yeah.
And then you'll go to your photo stream, pick the photo, and then click the heart down here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're just juggling a few different apps all the time.
Okay.
And yes, Cole, you're right. The flattering angle is like a 45-degree angle. Yeah, that's a traditional pretty light, and that's a great thing to aim for. Yeah.
Got it.
I just wasn't sure how technical. I was like, should I throw angles at them? I'll just show them with my hand. I don't know. Any other questions, you guys?
I think it would be great to have one if we could, because the light box intrigues me. So I know you said that's a little more technical, but I think that would be a really good workshop to maybe do. Is anybody interested in something like that? For example, when you photograph those earrings, did you just have those laying flat on a table, or or were they upright?
The hard light ones with the purple background?
Yeah.
That was on a piece of, oops, I think I responded to someone directly. Sorry, Veronica, I wasn't talking to you, but those are the apps. I just had a piece of purple paper sitting in my driveway, shooting in the direct sunlight.
So you're shooting down?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, let me go back to that photo. Pull up my screen sharing here. Yeah, so that piece of purple, it's just a piece of scrapbooking paper sitting on the ground. And then I just changed the angle of my camera a little bit, just so that I wouldn't get the shadow of my camera or myself on the photo.
That's a good question, because I'm always getting myself into the picture. So
yes,
you have to be careful where you're standing, or how can you avoid that?
You do. So if you're shooting, if you're shooting in hard light, you have to be very careful. You just want to like angle, if the sun's over here and you're shooting somebody in front of you, you don't want to stand right in front of them. You just want to be off to the side a little bit, or maybe down a little bit. That's why I'm always in some weird stance, because I'm just trying to get my shadow out of the photo.
There.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so 1 second. Someone in the chat asked me the names of the apps again, so I'm just going to say it's VSCO, VSCO, A Color Story, and Facetune if you're photographing people.
Heather?
Yeah.
Margie here. I have a full-size photography box, made out of fabric that I bought once. I'm not quite sure where it is right now. I never used it because I don't have space for this thing. It's a monster. I mean, a person can stand in there. I don't know if you're probably familiar with B&H Photo in New York City. I probably got it from them. And then I also have a little one, but that little one somehow or others got all twisted up. But, if I could find those and you want to do a session using them, you certainly can. If I can find them, I'm not sure where they are right now. But
sure. Yeah, I think after this workshop, we'll be sending out a survey. And if you are interested in me teaching like a Lightbox workshop, please just indicate on the survey and we can definitely make that happen.
Okay.
Yeah, because they seem easy, but they can be very confusing. I feel bad. I just think that they're marketed in such a way of like, this is, if you're a designer or you're selling a product, just buy this thing and your life is easy and you get it, and then you want to smash things.
Well, I know, Audio, you bought some little lighting equipment. You were doing some lighting and some backdrops here in the workroom. But that's a whole nother thing if you're doing like not natural lighting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole nother.
Yeah, and we can talk about ways, like you can do that with constant lights, and it is a little easier because you can see the lighting as you're working with it. So yeah, there are definitely ways we can talk about that. Also, people are suggesting Snapseed as another editing tool. I've heard great things. I just haven't looked into it yet because I already have like 17 of them. And so, but I should. I've heard it's really great.
What was that called?
Snapseed. S-N-A-P, seed, S-E-E-D.
Do you work with Photoshop very much, or do you usually use these apps?
If I'm shooting on my phone, I just use the apps.
Okay.
Yeah. Because with Facetune and all the editing, it's essentially doing what I would do on my computer, so I don't need to add another step. Yeah, the Facetune also has, they call it a patch tool. It's essentially, it was created like to remove blemishes, like, you know, if you have a blemish on your face or whatever. But if you're doing product photography and you have like a white seamless or something, and there's like a little foot mark or something on the backdrop, you can use that to edit it out as well. So that can be really handy.
That's which one?
Facetune.
Facetune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Cole
And
says
be able to
completely remove
completely-
objects. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just gotten rid of people in the background of photos. Yeah, it's magic.
No, seriously.
So would that be a good one to use if you're like, I don't know, I'm just focused in on photographing like a garment on a dress or something. Can you use that to edit out like anything that's in the background, or like the pole on the bottom of the dress form, or you know, things that you want to get rid of? Is that
to a certain extent, yes. So I wouldn't attempt to remove like an entire backdrop of things. So what the patch tool will do is, like, say I want to get rid of this photo, I would like patch right here and then drag it down and try to copy this part of the wall onto that. And if you're taking up a huge space like this, it can take a lot of time and it will start to look pixelated and it's just not going to look as good. So whatever you can remove from the frame, do it. But yeah, if you were just removing like the pole that the mannequin is on, yeah, that's totally doable. You just want to, I would suggest that, okay, I'm going to think about how to show this. Okay, so this is the pole and like the garment starts here. When you grab like this section, grab part of the garment as well and drag that straight over. Because if you grab this and then just pull it over to like white or something, it'll blur the actual fabric, like the garment as well. So you just want to copy part of the garment over here, and then the rest of this you can just pull off to white and get rid of it. I hope that made sense.
You just have to play around with it.
Yeah.
Also,
yes.
Facetune is really good. They have this whitening tool on it, and I've used it to like whiten up backgrounds or objects and stuff that like appear super yellow. You can also do it to like whiten your teeth. That's what it's like there for, but I use it to whiten like backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah, it's a way to selectively, the way that like a tone curve, you're just affecting like an area of shadows, but this is even more selective. So if I just wanted to brighten the black around here, but I wanted to keep my glasses dark, I would just paint the whitening tool around myself to make the background brighter.
Yeah, and also I'm pretty sure Facetune is like, it costs money, but it's definitely, I would say, something that is worth the money. I use it all the time.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it might be $3 or $4, but if you're going to be doing this often, do it. It's worth it. Someone is asking about
photograph. Are you a photographer?
What was that? Are you asking?
Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't really consider, oops, sorry about that. I wouldn't consider myself a photographer, I guess. I do photography, but also I take pictures more of like myself and like fashion, like clothing and stuff that I'm wearing, that kind of thing. Kind of like a lifestyle almost in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat is asking about tripods. I have an Instagram husband, so I don't have a tripod. So I know you can get great like little ones that fold up. If anyone here in the class has a tripod that they love, you can absolutely recommend it. But otherwise, I think just go on Amazon and whatever little tripod. I think probably the best if you're just doing your iPhone and it's like a small setup, I wouldn't get like a full like huge tripod. Just get like a smaller one, set it on a table or something, make your life easier. And then it's, you know, you can travel with it easier as well. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Do you have a picture of the Facetune app
Oh, yes,
on your phone so I can see what it looks like? Because there's different ones.
for sure.
Or
Okay, so the little icon is right here.
a circle?
Facetune. This, yeah, right above my finger here. It's like there's a little face in a circle right there. Facetune. I'll show you. This is what the app looks like. This is a picture of me and my friends. But if you see anything that looks remotely like that, and if you still have trouble finding it, Margie, I can try to send you a link.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, I found a tripod that I use. Sometimes it's not for a phone or anything, it's for a camera, but it like has like these bendy little small little things, and it's good to wrap around stuff. And like it's a helpful little tool. And I think I got it on Amazon. So
Where did you get it?
I believe I got it on Amazon, if I remember
great.
correctly.
Nice. Thanks, Cole. Thank you to Cole, my co-host for the class.
Heather, if nobody has any other questions, we'll be sending out a survey. We would love everybody to fill that out. And we really appreciate you taking your time, Heather, to do this. This has been great.
Looks like Alpha got his.
I have this other
Yeah.
tripod very well for me. I don't know if I can recommend it. You can turn it into a selfie stick at the same time. It has a bottom down, you can hook it for a mobile phone, and it has additional head here. If you're using it for 360, it doesn't so it does all the work. It supports DSLR, mobile phone selfie stick. I'll put the name down and then you can see whether you can find it up online. It's really cheap. It's really cheap and it does the job really well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Photography as well.
Awesome. Yes, please drop that in the chat. I'm very interested. Well, yay, we all learned something then, hopefully. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. And we hope that you'll be back to some other workshops. And thank you, Heather. Good job. And everybody have a good weekend. This will be recorded. We'll send you out the link and everything to be able to watch it again if you need to. All right.
Thanks and bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh. Do you want to stay on, Heather, for a minute?
I'm going to stay on, yeah, because I'm waiting for this tripod name to drop in here so I can remember it.
I've dropped it. It's right there.
It's there? Oh, I just need to scroll. Okay, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
So Angela, so it's right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you could join us.
You're welcome. Thanks for the great session. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Denise, do you want to just give
Bye. Bye, everybody. What?
Do you want to just give me a call, like start another meeting?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Wait, go see what the message is. I want to see.
Wait.
What it is.
Oh, will those save?
Those chats, yeah.
They do? Okay.
Okay. Oh, I found the tripod name.
Oh, did he send it into a private message with you?
Yes. Oh no, it's in the group message. It's a Manbali A222.
Did he get that on Amazon?
I think so.
Found it on Amazon. I got one for Anna for Christmas that was kind of like that. You could turn it into a monopod or a tripod, but it's a kind of a clunky. She wanted that one like Cole had. Of course, I bought her the wrong thing. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I feel bad. I just like, I have a husband, so I don't ever use a tripod. I'm sure he would love if I used a tripod. Okay.
All right.
Well, hang on one sec. Let's see.
go and shut mine off.
Yeah, go ahead and just give me a call back or start a new chat.
I'm going to start a new meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ending this one.
Okay, bye.